I heard my daughter-in-law say they were taking me to a nursing home in Cuernavaca the next morning. I was barefoot in the hallway of my own house, holding my nightgown against my chest so I would not scream. It was 2 in the morning. The house in San Angel was silent, carrying the smell of old wood, damp bougainvillea, and cold coffee. That smell always reminded me of Roberto. My daughter-in-law was in the kitchen, speaking on the phone, convinced I was asleep. "Everything is ready, Mom," Gabriella whispered. "Chris already signed the preliminary papers. Tomorrow we will tell her we are only visiting a beautiful residence. Once she is there, the director knows how to handle difficult old ladies." Difficult old ladies. That was what she called me now. For years, that same woman had called me Mama Clara whenever she needed money, a favor, or someone to watch her house. I leaned against the wall because my knees almost gave out. I am 68 years old. I buried 40 years of marriage with Roberto. Then spent 6 years living with my son Cristobal and his wife. I believed they had opened their home to me out of love. After Roberto's funeral, Chris came crying to my apartment in Polanco. "You cannot live alone, Mom," he said. "Come stay with us. I need you close. You are the only piece of dad I still have." And because love can make a mother foolish, I sold my apartment overlooking Lincoln Park and moved into the San Angel house. I thought it belonged to my son. I thought I was joining a family. The first months were sweet. Gabby made me coffee with cinnamon. Chris kissed my forehead at night. I cooked mole, noodle soup, and Roberto's favorite apple cake. I felt useful. I felt wanted. Then everything began to cool. First they started eating dinner late so I could rest earlier. Then, when friends came over, they asked me to stay in my room because the house looked more organized that way. Rest became a command dressed up as affection. "Rest, Mom. Do not clean, Mom. Do not go out, Mom. Do not talk so much, Mom." 3 weeks before that night, I discovered the first betrayal. A young man from a senior residence came to the door with brochures and intake forms. "I am here for the admission appointment for Mrs. Clara Montes de Oca," he said. I told him Gabriella was not home and closed the door before he could see me cry. Later, I found a folder hidden under a cushion. There was an application, medical language, and a letter from Chris. In that letter, my son wrote that I needed specialized care and that my presence was harming his marriage. It was a lie. I could cook, read, walk, and manage my own life. What they wanted was to move me out of the way. That morning at 2, Gabriella kept talking. "Once she is gone, we can remodel," she said. "Chris wants to sell some of the old lady's things. And there must be something left from the sale of her apartment. In the end, it will all be ours. He is her only child." Something broke inside me. But it was not my heart. It was the chain that had kept me obedient, grateful, and silent. I went back to my room without making a sound. I opened the metal box Roberto had left me and took out the red notebook that held our accounts. I had ignored it for years, trusting that I did not need anything as long as I lived with my son. But there they were: investments, funds, properties, bank accounts. More than 92 million pesos, built by Roberto and me over 40 years of work. Clinics, rental income, bonds, land. Money Chris did not know about because I had chosen to live simply. Money Gabriella had never imagined while treating me like a burden. I did not sleep before sunrise. I put on a navy blouse, my pearls, and the lipstick Roberto used to say brought my eyes back to life. Then I went downstairs for breakfast. Gabriella served avocado toast with a fake smile. "You look very well today, Mrs. Clara," she said. "I feel very well, dear," I answered. Chris cleared his throat. "Mom, we want to take you to see a place today. A beautiful residence. Just a look." I looked at him. My boy. My only biological child. The man who was about to hand me over like an old package. "All right," I said. Gabriella nearly dropped her cup. "All right?" "Yes. But I have a few errands first. I will see Rosa downtown. We can go tomorrow." I went upstairs for my purse, put the red notebook and my identification inside, and walked out the front door. Gabriella smiled because she still believed I was easy. "Have a good day," she said. I looked back from the doorway. "I promise you," I said, "it will be better than you can imagine." But I did not go to see Rosa first. I went to the private bank on Reforma, the place where Roberto and I had kept our whole life. The manager, Don Ricardo Salas, received me like a queen everyone had assumed was dead. "Dona Clara," he said, "it has been years since you came in personally. I need to know everything I have," I told him. Everything. For 1 hour, he showed me accounts, investments, rental income from 3 clinics, bonds, and real estate funds. The final number left me perfectly still, 92 million pesos, not including the house in San Angel. "Don Roberto always said you were the calm mind in the marriage," Ricardo said. "He earned, but you multiplied." Then he opened a drawer and gave me a sealed letter. Your husband asked me to give this to you if you ever came here alone and afraid. Roberto's handwriting broke me open. My Clara, if you are reading this, remember who you are. You are not a burden. You are the woman who built clinics when everyone said a nurse could not negotiate with banks. Forgive if you can, but never let anyone make you small. I cried in front of Ricardo. But I left that bank with a clean kind of fury. At 2 that afternoon, I went to see Franco Armenta, my husband's attorney for 25 years. I told him everything, the residence, the folder, Gabriella's words, and Chris's silence. Franco listened without interrupting. Then he said, "The San Angel house does not belong to your son." The air changed in the room. "What do you mean?" "It is held in a trust," Franco said. "Chris can live there only as long as you allow it. You are the real owner. Don Roberto created that protection in case anyone ever tried to push you out. My husband had protected me from the grave." Then came the second explosion. Patricia, Franco's investigator, opened a laptop. "Gabriella runs an account called Caring for My Mother-in-Law with Dementia," she said. "It has 78,000 followers. She posts photographs of you without permission and asks for donations for supposed treatments." My face appeared on the screen. It was a photo of me searching for my glasses. The caption said, "Another episode of confusion. The illness is progressing, but family love endures." "How much did she receive?" I asked. "Close to 300,000 pesos, Patricia said. Disgust rose in my throat. They were building my prison online before they locked me in a residence. "I want a meeting," I said. "With Chris, Gabriella, my other children, and every document." Javier and Elisa were not my children by blood. They were Roberto's children, left motherless when they were young, and I raised them as my own. When Chris was born, I made them feel pushed aside without meaning to. They grew distant, and I allowed it because Chris needed me more. That was another debt in my life. When Franco called them, they came. Javier hugged me in my temporary apartment in Polanco. "Mama Clara," he said, "I should have been there." Elisa cried against my shoulder. "It hurt to feel less important," she said. "But you never stopped being our mother." That night, we ate together for the first time in years. Rosa raised her glass. "To justice," she said, "and to women who wake up late but wake up with everything." The next day, Chris and Gabriella arrived at Franco's office believing we were going to discuss inheritance. When they saw me at the head of the table with Javier, Elisa, Rosa, Franco, and Patricia, they stopped cold. "Mom," Chris said, "what is this?" I looked at my son without shaking. "This, Chris, is the day you stopped deciding for me." Franco turned on the screen. First, the San Angel house appeared, valued at 38 million pesos. Gabriella inhaled as if she were already spending it. "This property," Franco said, "legally belongs to Clara Montes de Oca. Cristobal has the right to occupy it only while she authorizes it." Chris picked up the documents with trembling hands. "Dad told me it was mine," he said. "You misunderstood many things," I answered. "The house, me, and what it means to be a son." Gabriella tried to smile. "Mrs. Clara, this is all a misunderstanding." "No," I said. "I heard you at 2 in the morning. Tomorrow we take her. Do you remember?" Her face turned white. Patricia changed the slide. There was Gabriella's account, videos, photos of me, captions about my supposed dementia, and screenshots of donations. Chris looked at his wife as if he had just met her. "What did you do?" "I was only showing how hard it was to care for her," Gabriella said. "You were not caring for me," I said. "You were using me." Javier stood. "You turned our mother into content." Elisa looked at Chris. "And you let her make mom doubt herself." Chris covered his face. "I did not know about the donations." "But you knew about the residence," I said. "You signed the papers. You let them treat me like a burden." Then came the final blow. Franco displayed the asset summary. Dona Clara's liquid and investment assets total 92 million pesos, not including additional properties. The silence was so deep I could hear the air conditioner. Gabriella whispered, 92 million. There it was. Her soul, naked on the table. She did not say I was safe. She did not say she was sorry. She only repeated the number. "For 6 years, you lived in my house," I said. "You ate at my table and used my rooms. You sent me to my bedroom and made me feel old, slow, and useless. And I stayed, even though I could have lived anywhere, because I believed my son wanted me close." Chris dropped to his knees in front of me. "Mom, forgive me. I was weak. I was selfish. I let Gabby." "No," I interrupted. "Do not hide behind her. You signed." He cried. "If I had known about the money, it would have been different." I looked at him for a long time. "That is the saddest part, son. It may be true." Then I placed 3 documents on the table. First, Gabriella will delete that account, return every donated peso, and publish an apology. If she refuses, we will file charges for fraud and unauthorized use of my image. Gabriella pressed her lips together, defeated. Second, you have 30 days to leave my house. I will pay 6 months of rent on a modest apartment. After that, you work. We do not have money, Chris said. I did not have peace, I answered, and you are not worried about that. I took a deep breath. Third, I changed my will. Only if they maintain a respectful relationship with me. Any abuse, manipulation, or attempt to control me remove not touch. Gabriella exploded. That is controlling our marriage. Rosa slammed her hand on the table. Control was pretending Clara had dementia so you could take money from strangers. Chris looked at Gabriella. Be quiet. Her eyes widened. What? Be quiet, he said. For once in your life, be quiet. It was the first time in years that I saw something like dignity in my son. I did not hug him. Not yet. Forgiveness is not passed around like warm sweet bread. It is earned with actions. 6 months later, the San Angel house was no longer a prison. I remodeled it and turned it into Casa Roberto, a day center for older adults abandoned by their families. At the entrance, I placed a line from my husband's letter. Power is deciding over your own life. Gabriella deleted the account, returned the money, and disappeared from our lives after separating from Chris. She never apologized. Some people would rather lose everything than admit who they are. Chris started therapy. At first, he went because I required it. Later, he kept going because he understood that his weakness had been another form of cruelty. That Christmas, he came to my new apartment in Polanco. I did not hug him when he arrived. But after dinner, he handed me a letter. I am not asking you to forget, he said. I am asking you to let me spend the rest of my life proving I can be better than that man. I read the letter that night and cried. Not because everything was fixed. Because for the first time, my son was not defending himself. He was taking responsibility. Now I live with wide windows, cinnamon coffee, and silence I chose for myself. Javier and Elisa visit every week. Rosa says I look 10 years younger. I tell her I did not become younger. I only stopped shrinking to fit inside a house where I was no longer loved. Sometimes I miss the little boy Chris used to be, the one who ran into my arms. But I have learned that loving an adult child does not mean letting him step on you. Motherhood should not be a sentence. Old age should not be an apology. And no woman who built an entire life deserves to end it hidden away so others can live comfortably on top of her bones.